relax, and enjoy the moment.
Mic check. How you doing? Good morning. Ooh, good morning. I hope y'all had a restful evening. I hope you're having a productive morning, little mama, with the check-in. Good morning. Appreciate you. All right, so I'm gonna get to it. Folks file in, come in as they please. The bad signal went out at 7 or 7-ish, so folks should be coming in. But yeah, so today this mic'd up. I'm mikagadsden. How you doing? Today I wanted to be a little self-indulgent, admittedly self-indulgent. This whole exercise every morning is a little bit of a self-indulgence, to be honest. Not because I get to hear my own voice, but because I don't know. This is what I always wanted to do here in Charleston, was to create a space that is maybe two-part, part media, part community, right? That's been something I've been dying to do, to create here in Charleston, and I'm enjoying this in its infancy, right? But what makes today specifically self-indulgent, if you got the newsletter this morning, shout out to y'all who opened it yesterday. The click rate and the open rate on my newsletter was marvelous. Yes. Every time I feel self-doubt, like, y'all always like, nah, we got you. Like, is this too hard? Am I being too obnoxious? Y'all be like, nah, we really kind of want to hear what you got to say. So shout out to y'all who opened the newsletter. But anyway, this morning you saw that the today's topic is about rejecting rigid radicalism. And it actually was something that I've been ruminating on for a minute. I've mentioned books, I've mentioned things on Twitter. It's usually after something huge happens, like yesterday, Colin Powell. Hey, what's up, El J? I think you'll like today's live stream, El J. Hey, Debbie, good morning with the check-in. After something happens, like John McCain dies, a Koch brother dies, Colin Powell dies. There's this really not so much interesting, but for me, it's an interesting phenomenon to watch, because I'm just seeing something and I never had a name for it. But shout out to my friend Evelyn, friend to the chat, friend to the Twitch stream. Evelyn put me up on a book called Joyful Militancy, right? So after a staunch conservative, this is it right here. Hey Denise, good morning. All right, y'all see it? Okay. Joyful Militancy is the book that's going to undergird this conversation. But after someone who's staunchly conservative, problematic, war criminal, not just problematic, like people who have committed horrifying acts of terrorism, those folks who have participated in U.S. imperialism. I want to get this out in front of everything. I am not an apologist, a John McCain apologist. You did not see no rest in peace to the family tweets from me. You'll never see that shit. Koch brother dies. You'll never see, oh, rest in peace, Colin Powell died. Outside of D dropping it in the chat, it was like, whoa, because this Colin Powell, for me, let me just explain my relationship. Colin Powell to me was like a Black history fact. If you grew up in a Black home and y'all had them funeral homes, calendars, Colin Powell, Ben Carson, Ida B. Wells, that's what Colin Powell was to me. Ideologically, politically, never was a fan. Just didn't understand. I remember as a kid, I'm like, why is this Black man a Republican? That was just my analysis as a kid. As I grew up, never really resonated. He always came off to me as like a well-meaning man of integrity, like personal integrity. But his role in the Bush administration, what's up, Megzy? His role in the Bush administration, his role as being, his role as one of the architects of the war in Iraq and so on and so forth, and so many other things definitely definitely was like problematic, was egregious. But what we saw yesterday, what we constantly see after a staunch conservative, an imperialist, a capitalist, someone with a questionable career, what we see is this, what I called, it's competitive evisceration. It's not an analysis. It's not thoughtful. And it's anybody like myself who has I'm not a moderate, but if you have a more moderate compared to the really rigid left, if you have a moderate view on a Colin Powell, on a Condoleezza Rice, if you have a nuanced view, if you look at all of the complexity of who they are, who they evolved into, who they may have devolved into, if you even like suggest that person is not flat, that person's dynamic, like not even apologizing for him, not making any. I would use the word, if you want to use the term war criminal to describe Colin Powell. I don't actually. It doesn't. I'm literally. This is the truth. I'm literally ambivalent about that kind of shit. Like, call him a war criminal. Call him what you want to call him. Like, I'm ambivalent. That term has lost a lot of power because y'all calling, some of the rigid leftists calling like literal, like enlisted poor people war criminals. And I think that's fugazi. I think that's complete and utter trash. But I get imperialism. I get it. I understand that. I do consider myself part of the progressive left. I get that. But it's the race, it's the competitive evisceration that you see on Twitter and other places. Like, as soon as I tweeted, as soon as I shared, and I'll show it to you, the tweet. As soon as I shared Chad Williams, Professor Chad Williams, one of the co-editors of the Charleston syllabus, he had a more moderate view on Colin Powell. Like, hey, he was urging folks to reject an oversimplification of who the man was. And it's almost as if leftists, if you even entertain that this man was human, and that this man's frailty wasn't just, he wasn't just made up of his frailty, his own human frailty. He wasn't just made up of his sins, like that. He was made up of other things. The mere suggestion of that gets you pushed to the left. And one of the I think it's a bot or a troll, whatever, but a bot like screen grabbed my tweets, and they did this around the inauguration. Look, I was like this is so funny to me. It's almost as if there is joy. They found joy in seeking out a moderate point of view on Colin Powell. So that to me, the use of my benign ass tweet to retweet and to screenshot and all that other shit behind your fake ass avatar, because it's my real face on social media every day, my real face. I don't hide behind shit. But to seek out tweets that you don't agree with and then repost them and criticize them, I don't understand what that does. It's reductive. It's definitely, I'm not going to call it bullying, but then when someone responds, someone like myself, again, who identifies as someone as a part of the progressive left, oh, you're old enough to remember what happened. Why are you making it? It's like, y'all, can y'all please, what's up with this rigidity? What's up with this unforgiving, unyielding, form of progressive radicalism? And I am a woman of a certain age. I'm fucking 40. I'll be 41 Savage November 10th. Put it on your calendar because I will expect and accept gifts. But I don't know if it's because I'm a woman of a certain age and I grew up my younger formative years were without social media, right? And then I grew into using internet connectivity, social media, at the tail end of high school into college. And maybe it's because I grew up with this technology. I wasn't born into it, right? I sound like Bane. You adopted the dog. I was born in. Anyway, but no, I don't know what it is, but it's this perspective, this lack of vision. And it's people I really respect and admire. It's people who I love and call comrades, but this rigidity and like the way the rigid left finds comfort in that evisceration, to me, is so confounding, right? I'm such a Scorpio. What's up, Perception Changer? But I want to talk about that today. So I'm also inviting at 8:30. We'll have my girl, Kanae Miller, coming in. We're going to do you're gonna have to indulge me. We're gonna do mindful meditation. If that's not for you, you can log off if you want. But we're gonna talk to Kane, and then we're gonna do a guided meditation because I need a reset, right? And usually when I reset, I close the laptop, I get the fuck outside, I go by somebody's beach, or I go by somebody's battery, or I go by somebody's boat landing on Wamala. I reset. And I reflect, and I immerse myself in things that I can see, feel, hear. I hug on my mama, I hug on my daddy. I'll call my twin brother. We'll kiki about the NBA. Like I find ways to connect with humanity or with this planet because this is really like it's just troubling. And like to call me a liberal, first of all, shut the fuck up. Second of all, like stop being a reductionist. Stop being so simple and understand that, hey, this planet, some other people might not agree with what you got to say, and it's not bullying for that person. And like, I'm telling you, let me just show it real quick, because this is it's not even that big of a deal, but it's. I see you, Nicole, right? So I want to have this larger conversation. I'm going to open up this book, Joyful Militancy, and I'm going to read from it, right? And I'm going to read from certain parts of it, especially the chapter. I'm going to read from the chapter of called Stifling Air, Burnout, Political Performance. Because half this shit is performance, y'all. Half this shit is performance. You're not an apologist for Colin Powell or any imperialist regime if you fucking remember or recall or mention this man's fucking journey as a black person in this goddamn country. Like, I'm sick of it. And like with the rigid left, if y'all are so fucking pure and y'all shit don't stink, right? If you really gave a fuck about all the casualties of wars that y'all kept rattling off, you really give a fuck? I need to see that shit more readily than fucking Twitter fingers. Like, seriously, stop calling everyone who disagrees. You're like a petulant child. Stop calling everyone who don't want to play with you and your toys a name. Chill out. And then like the tweet shit, like saying, "Oh, I don't want to hear if you gonna talk about nuance, y'all liberals. Shut the fuck up. You just as worst. You're just as worse. You're just as oppressive as the very forces you say you oppose. And I think that rigidity is just tired. And I don't know. And so I'm cursing a lot because don't dare call. You don't know my politics. You probably don't know my politics. Half the people who engage with me come here expecting me to pour out a daily dose of what to do, what not to do, as opposed to sharing and growing with me. This is a growth space. This is a space of growth. This is a space of shared learning. This is a space where we do shit together creatively. This is a space not just of joy, because sometimes we have to talk about trauma. Sometimes we have to talk about violence. But this is a space that is not limited. It's expansive. It's dynamic. It'll never be static. And I think people like their world that way. And I will say this, y'all gonna hate me for this. I love pissing off a rigid radical leftist. I love the fact that I get up in here and I don't go on and on about Marxism. I don't go on and on about socialism. I might not go on and on. I know some people come for that. I'm like, oh, she's supposed to, because she said this and she supports that. She read this and she showed up here. But why doesn't this toy work? Why doesn't it work? Why doesn't she do what I want her to say? I love disappointing y'all who only want to limit me to just one thing. And my whole life has been rejecting categories. My whole life has been rejecting and stepping out of other people's definition of what this black body is supposed to be, what this black woman is supposed to show up as. And I love when leftists come here to check for the purity or to check for, she's not reading Karl Marx. Why she not rattling on? What? I love disappointing y'all. I love it. Why is she talking about joy this morning? I don't understand. That part, it sounds stupid, but I love that. I know people are disappointed because I don't go on and on and on and on and on and rail against capitalism all day. I don't have to rail against it. I live my politics. You feel me? I'm not better. I'm not better than anyone else. I'm struggling through this. I'm fucking I'm employed here. This is what I do. But you get what I'm saying? I don't have traditional employment. I have to create my own livelihood, right? Like a lot of other people. Right? I live my politics. I lost my job because I live my politics in part, right? Like, You ain't got to tell me about sacrifice. You ain't got to tell me about how to live through capitalism. You don't have to teach me that, and you damn sure not gonna teach me that with a bunch of stick and no carrot. And a lot of what leftists don't get, and as someone who prides themselves on, and I got y'all in the comments, someone who prides themselves off of like when I was in a retail executive, like I say this all the time, I love saying that I don't know shit about ragu. I don't know shit about Abyssal vacuum cleaner. I didn't know shit about no Nintendo Wii. I didn't know shit about no television. I didn't know shit about no fucking spaghetti. And I don't know nothing about that. But I know how to build teams of people who are passionate about those things and can tell you about those things and can sell those things and can stock those things. I was really good at assembling teams. And one thing I learned, y'all heard me say this once, and I'm gonna say it again. One thing I was good at was making sure that I can facilitate a space where I earn people's commitment to my overall vision or goal. Right? The goal wasn't just, oh, Mika needs to keep her job. Can y'all help? No, the goal was like, how can we all work here harmoniously? How can we all lift up each other's individuality and talents? How can we all keep earning our paycheck and do it in a way that serves us all? I wanted your commitment. I don't want your compliance. And what the left keeps doing is trying to beat you into submission with their paranoid bullshit and with their performative, competitive activism. Right? That's only for public consumption. It's only for public consumption. It's not, and I'm talking about the ones who do the fuck shit. I'm not talking about you if you agreed with a rigid leftist and like you just low key like agree with a hit like and that's it. I'm not talking to y'all. I'm talking about those who really go ham every time somebody says the word nuance. It triggers the fuck out of y'all. Cause y'all are comforted by rigidity. And what happens with rigid shit? It fucking breaks. All right, let me read the comments. Nicole, you said I hate that. Same as the inauguration. And we're gonna get to that because that was hilarious. I don't like Kamala Harris. Was never a fan. I had to work around Kamala, whether it was with like Black Voters Matter, whether it was with my activism. I had to work around Kamala when she came here during the primary. I had to be around her surrogates. I could not stand Kamala Harris. I have a prosecutor's bias. I think she's horrible. I shared many memes of her being a cop. I don't like it. But you think I'm gonna spend my time on Twitter during the inauguration bullying everybody who thought that her hair looked good or that her suit looked good? Or that they were happy to see a black woman, half Indian, half Caribbean, black woman from Howard University, or AKA. You think it brings me no joy to make that person feel bad because they value representation in a way I don't. It doesn't make me feel. No, it doesn't. Right? Right? You can celebrate Kamala and you can celebrate the first as well, or you can not celebrate it. You can be like me and feel fucking ambivalent about a lot of this shit. I'm ambivalent about the shit, but then what makes me passionate or respond in this way is like y'all won't let nobody like let people be human. Like you have no regard for human frailty. Like, all right, perception change. You said you can't listen to Mika without medication. Oh, I don't know what you mean. That wasn't a joke. Was that a joke? I don't know what that means. I don't know. You gotta clarify that perception. I hear you, but the eviscerating is cathartic when there's no actual political power. Okay, so I'm gonna reject that because you do have, and that's the thing about. So this is the thing. Thank you, Justin, for putting that in there first and foremost. And this is not contentious. We can disagree. Hello. This is, this is not disagreeing. Also, does not have to be a combat sport. I know the Twitter might make you think that, but you could disagree with people. And I'm not saying, Justin, not saying that, but you can disagree, and it could be generative conflict. Get that in the lexicon, generative conflict, right? Right? You do have power. And see, okay, so before, this is why I'm responding and created a whole live stream around this topic, right? I'm not even gonna be able to get to the news roundup. Is because before Colin Powell died, I was struggling with, there's a number of people who have engaged me through either Instagram or this platform or through the podcast or on Twitter or whatever. They've engaged my content. They've either supported it with either like sharing it or clicking on it. I'm not trying to minimize the support, but they've shown some sort of support of it. But then like, sometimes when they engage my content, this is like specifically white followers, they engage in this like pessimism, because I know Charleston can really, once you got that vision and know that Charleston's bullshit, that this is like a Potemkin village of bullshit, when you realize that this is Ba Sing Se, right? It's hard to like sometimes kind of feel easy here. I'm always wrestling with a constant state of outrage. I'm black in Charleston with the last name Gadsden, okay? Family from Guatemala. I'm always in a constant state of rage, right? But what I have no use for is white people white people who come with this despair. I'm attracting a lot of people who feel like they're in this, like they have so much despair. They can't see the hope. They can't, and I can't help you with that. That's too much. That's labor intensive for me. And what I'm trying to model every morning is y'all might think this shit is easy. Y'all might think that this is even cathartic. It's not really cathartic. Maybe today is. It's not as cathartic as it is scary. Y'all ever wonder why I always ask y'all, if I've asked you in private, how did it sound today? What did you feel? Did this offend you? You know, I'm asking that because the blowback in my life has been real. I'm asking you that because I've had consequences after saying something innocuous on a stage. I've had opportunities revoked. I've had my, burgeoning careers in certain areas completely shut down. I was overlooked by one of my employers here in Charleston because I routinely push boundaries. And so that's why I asked you, hey, did the Anita Zucker thing, did it do anything? Did it make you feel anything? Did you feel like I crossed the line? That's why I'm always doing like a heat check with y'all, right? This ain't cathartic. And what I'm trying to say is I show up in this space because I have hope, because I have to have hope. Because I'm trying to build a communal space where we talk about these issues without fear of being. Now, don't come to me with no white foolishness and no centering yourself and making yourself a victim and seeing things only through your lens. That's not that either. Don't come to me with no liberal bullshit neither. Don't come to me if you see, Charleston County Democrats and you ain't say shit about Graziano and you just sent me this ain't that either. But what I won't do is you won't be banished. Right? You won't be banished. You won't be ridiculed. You won't be pushed out. And to Justin's point, because I got off a little bit, you do have will. You do have an ability. You have political power. That's the whole point of this place, is to let y'all know y'all have political power. Every day you commune with your neighbor. That's political power. That's building political power. Every time you're able to talk to someone, have a conversation about your material conditions, about your child's school, you have political power. You cannot organize, you cannot live in Charleston from this stance of perpetual fear and degradation. You can't do that. You have to try to find and create your own joy. And guess what? Spoiler, you won't find it in me. Do not make your political home in any human being. Do not, dead or alive. And you have to create your own. You have to create your own joy. You have to create your own hope. You have to create your own a version of what an ideal society has to be. And you have to continue to work for it. No one can give you that shit. No one can give it to you. And I just think that's important. That's how white supremacy works. It tricks you into thinking you don't have power. It tricks you into thinking that power is only achieved at the ballot box, that power is only manifest in a certain way where you have leverage. And I come from ancestors who were in bondage and resisted bondage every day. You would say that they didn't have power. But how did they go and keep in contact with their loved ones at neighboring plantations miles and miles away? They broke curfew. That's power. But what happened when conditions got too brutal on a labor camp? What did they do? They left and they created maroonage communities. Was it perfect? No. Was that out of active desperation? It had to be to live in a swamp. But my point is that we come from people that created systems inside of oppressive systems, that created spaces of healing inside of oppressive systems. And while we might not have the power that manifests through that capitalism tells us is power, money, prestige, name ID, a blue check on fucking Twitter. We might not have that shit, but we have power in our own lives, and that's the trick of white supremacy and capitalism, is to tell you every day you're powerless, you're nothing, you're nameless, you're worthless, and I'm not gonna believe that motherfucking lie, right? All right, B-Man, you wrote, rigidity prevents growth. Hallelujah. Rigidity prevents growth. Change is the only constant, and that's the other part. You eviscerating somebody over here that next month they might find a fucking book or have an encounter and they grow. But that, like, it's just anyway. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, thank you for clearing that up, Perception. But don't play around with like medication and nothing like that. Did like behavior on some real shit. I just didn't. And please don't stop tweeting or stop chatting. I'm not reprimanding you. I'm just saying let's be mindful of people like myself who might be on medication right now. El J, right. Complexity in all of this. Context, historical moment, influences. Like B-Man said, change, right? I've always had my foundational political beliefs, but definitely have moved further left. Me too. And let me keep reading and stop. Like, yes. All right. Move further left as I've gotten older and seen and learned more. I'm a little embarrassed by some of my earlier moments. Me too. Right? Hello. Founding member of Coalition for Kids here. I definitely can't talk shit about nobody. Okay. I'm embarrassed by some of my earlier moments. Even regarding yesterday's stream, I never examined schools in that specific critical way when my kids were of age. But just allow yourself some grace, because that's the thing. You don't know what you don't know. And I just wish that I wish that we lived in places where more like we engaged in more Socratic thinking, where we knew what we believe, like we know that we know that we know that we know, right? I wish we lived in a place like that. But that's really difficult. Hold on a second. Just hold on one second. I'm reaching out. Oh, my phone. I'm up here ranting. Okay. All right. But yeah, it's amazing too. Like okay, one of my favorite movies is like It's a Wonderful Life, right? It's one of my favorite movies, right? Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I get you completely. Justin, I get you completely. And I think Colin Powell's fair game. But when your tweet, so this is the thing that triggered me, Justin. But when your tweet is Colin Powell is a war criminal, I don't say shit. Okay. But when it's followed up by, I don't want to hear anything else about it, I'm like, okay, who you trying to referee? So what is your tweet really about? You tweet Colin Powell is a criminal. Okay, it's an oversimplification, but if you like it, it ain't for me. It's not what I would tweet, but tweet it. If you want to tweet John McCain's a war criminal, please tweet it. I'm really ambivalent about that, because that shock is worn off. Like, whoa, because they use war criminal on everybody now, right? They're calling the YouTuber Jackie Ina, who was enlisted, they calling her a war criminal now. And I'm like, oh, because she joined the military, like a lot of black and brown people in this country who didn't have money for college or just thought there was a way forward or a way up or a way out. Like, she's a war criminal because she was enlisted personnel. That's kind of over the top. But so I kind of wore off. I'm like, once they start calling Jackie Ina, a YouTube makeup star, a war criminal, I'm like, all right, y'all just having fun now, right? But yeah, call shit on Rush Limbaugh. I didn't shed a tear for Rush Limbaugh. I think if I did say something, I might have put roast and piss, not rest in peace, roast and piss. Shit, you could say roast and piss to Colin Powell. It doesn't offend me that you have these strong feelings about his career, right, and his participation in imperialism. That doesn't offend me. What offends me is that when you send a tweet and like with me, I'm retweeting. What did I do? I retweeted. I'm talking specifically about this nut ass. My Philly came out. It was it was a bot. It had to be a bot. It's somebody with a fake, 100 something followers and no real face, whatever. But I had liked, let me see, lots of DK Metcalf tweets. Like, let me see. Oh, shout out Paola. Damn, I might have retweeted it. Let me see my retweets. I think I retweeted it. I ain't like it. I retweeted it. My bad, y'all. All right. Well, this is some of the bullshit I think is gonna be in the replies right here. So yeah, let's just show this. Oh wait. Did they block me after this? Oh my goodness. They blocked me? Oh. So yeah, they must have blocked me, whatever. Literally no one over here is a Powell apologist. It's so odd how much emotion you put in attempting to eviscerate me for having an opinion that you don't share. You come off as pathetic and sad. And that's true. And I'm not calling them that, but it comes off as being pathetic to me. Let me see. I definitely retweeted it. I definitely did. I could just look up. Here it is. So this is what, and I shared this on Instagram stories. So yeah, Colin Powell was a complicated figure who could not be understood outside the context and tensions of African American military history. Ignoring this also ignores the fraught nature of African American patriotism. Avoid overly simplistic takes on his life. And then and then I'm glad he added this. I'm gonna read that later. And like that, sharing that got people all up in arms. And you have to think about at 8:30, y'all, Kanae's coming at 8:30. You got to really think about, I'm going to switch to this. You got to really think about like, why would that be upsetting to if someone remembers Colin Powell, if someone remembers his career, his journey in America, if someone reflects on that at the time of his death, how does that make his crimes, how does that make his participation, in other theaters, how does that diminish the truth? No one's trying to erase the truth, which is Colin Powell has blood on his hands. Colin Powell is responsible for a lot of civilian deaths. That's a fact. Right? What's also a fact is his journey, is his story. That's also a fact. One doesn't negate the other, and that's context, that's nuance. And I think now there's a legitimate argument for those who just want to whitewash his life, want to whitewash history. Yeah, there's an argument there. Like, if you were responding to someone who's whitewashing it, right? But to like call out Ilhan Omar because she says some reflective things, you calling out Ilhan Omar like. So now what? So let's throw her away too, cause she said something. So let's throw away what's my man name Bowman from New York, part of the squad. He gone too. We banish him because he said this. Like, I'm just over it. It's so fucking rigid. All right. It says I don't think. Okay. It says. Oh, okay. I retweet. Oh, thank you. But yeah, I just want to. So we're gonna have Kanae join us on the Mic'd Up hotline. We're gonna talk, but I wanted to. Okay, it's 8:05. Let's do the news roundup. Let's do some news. Okay, we'll do some news, and then we'll get into we'll get into what I'm going to have Kanae kind of walk us through, because I really do want to reset, and I want to encourage a reset. And I just want us to like kind of just divorce ourselves from running to any source, whether it be me. This is why I stopped on holidays. I think outside of 9/11, I stopped on holidays or dates with significance, with either cultural or political significance. I stopped posting that because people were coming to my page or coming to me as a source of like, okay, what does she think on this? What does she do on that? And I actually want to encourage you to kind of like, you work through it a little bit. You don't need me. You got 1,000 other pages out here who got something pithy and interesting to say about Christopher Columbus. He was a murderer and all that other stuff. You got plenty of places to get that. I'm not really interested in that anymore. I've outgrown that whole performative every holiday where a white supremacist lift up. I gotta sit there. I already call it things taken. I already divested from all that bullshit. I'm beyond that now. I'm at another stage where I'm trying to build community where we all interrogate what we think, what we know, what we believe, what we read. I'm in that space of learning and growth. I don't really need to keep showing y'all how I feel about something. Anyway, I'm going on and on and on, but I just need a reset because this shit is wild. All right, I want to lift up something real quick. So yesterday during the live stream, not at the end when my fire alarm went off in the building, not there, but yesterday during like early on, y'all might saw me like kind of get distracted by a text. Shout out Quadro. Quadro sent me. I'm gonna go to BLM's page because it's on here and I didn't send it to myself. So Quadro sent me this flyer that BLM posted right here. So this is going on today. From what I understand, it's not listed here, but from what I understand, Reverend Nelson is one of the organizers of this. I guess I don't know if BLM is an organizer because again, I got it from someone else. But there is a press conference at noon today at the office of Solicitor Scarlett Wilson. Ben Crump will be here. And there's also supposed to be a rally, Justice for Jamal rally at 6 p.m. With Crump and the Sutherlands, okay? Starting at the Alfred Williams Community Center, in North Charleston. So that's going on. I'm still thinking about if I want to participate or show up. But I don't know. So this is the thing, like when I don't know enough about, I don't have to know everything, but sometimes when I don't know enough about like who's organizing, what's the purpose. This is the timing is interesting because, when the case was hot, Coke Boy, Mark Pepper didn't enlist a Crump, didn't enlist a Sharpton, didn't enlist any of the prominent lawyers or voices within, didn't do that. There was no civil rights attorney enlisted. So the timing is curious, but not like a deal breaker. But yeah, what's up, new follower? So it's just interesting. Yeah. But it's good. It's good. I want to say this to Denise. You said it too. It's good that this is, because there's no justice. If y'all, again, the settlement ain't our business. That's family music. We ain't dancing to that, right? The settlement is their business, and is what they fought for and what they deserve, and should have been 3 times more, right? In my opinion, because their son is never coming back. But we never got justice. The deputies were never charged, right? Scarlett Wilson likes to perform as if she's actually on the side of the people. It's a game. It's just like when she threw the Slager trial because she was trying to continue. When she threw the Slager trial by with those really whack and flimsy and stupid ass opening arguments, calling the murdered man Walter Scott foolish for running from a police officer, even though there's a whole industry of shows all about cop chases on TV. Hello. But because that's just a natural response, because who the fuck wants to get arrested? But anyway, called him foolish. She threw the opening remarks. And because she was trying to appear friendly to cops, to law enforcement, she was trying to show them like, hey, I'm not going to really go to. It's like wrestling, right? Choreographed moves and everything. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna jump off the ladder and then I'm gonna hit you with the elbow. But you know what I mean? That's her, right? And she did it. She does it a lot. She does it a lot. People don't realize it. And when you realize what Michael Slager was convicted of. It wasn't murder, wasn't manslaughter. It was a civil rights violation. Once you understand the charges, you're like, oh, that's what Scarlett, how she get down, right? And I believe that was a deal between her and law enforcement communities, like to make sure that he wasn't held accountable with the only form of accountability. Well, one of the few forms of accountability we have is our judicial system. Yeah, she made sure that he didn't face like some more severe consequences. So yeah, we need to rally at her office and need to have a press conference. I'm definitely going to tune in, but I probably won't be there. Live. 6 p.m. The rally, North Charleston, definitely won't be there. Can't be there. I have an engagement, but I will be tuned in and we'll talk about it tomorrow. And maybe we'll have somebody close to it talk about it. But Shout out to Quadro who sent me the flyer, and BLM has posted it. So if you want more information, I guess you can go to BLM's page if you want to peep the flyer. Let's do a real quick news roundup. God, the Murdaws. Content warning. I get content warning. There's some other news that came out over the weekend from Jared Kofsky over at Live 5 News. I think, no, I don't know if this is it. No, it's probably not it. But let's just watch this clip. I don't know what this is. This is sad. Content warning. So it says video shows former detention officer shove inmate into booking cell. Jesus. Is he unconscious? Oh my God. He kicks him. Yeah, this is crazy. I think Live 5 has this story because this doesn't have any volume or anything. Lord have mercy. Let me go to Live 5 News. I think Jared over the weekend, I think Jared Kofsky covered this. And I know we zigging and zagging a little bit. He asked to leave jail? Oh boy. Okay, well, let's watch this clip and then we'll see if we can find that other clip. It's very difficult to watch. But let's get an update here. Okay.
Like all working moms, your job never seems to end. You work hard to help provide for your family, but when you get home, another workday begins.
Okay, it says civil rights attorney to demand charges in Jamal Sutherland's death. Yeah, the timing is really interesting though. And it's never too late, I guess, but we're going to also make sure that we read a little bit of the copy below the reporting, because sometimes there's more information in the copy that I never read. So we're going to do that. I could have skipped that. I never saw the skip.
Civil rights attorney is set to speak out today about the death of Jamal Sutherland. Benjamin Crump, who represented the family of George Floyd, is demanding criminal charges be filed against two former Charleston County Sheriff's Office deputies in connection to the death of Sutherland. Now, Sutherland died in January inside the Charleston County Jail as deputies attempted to remove him from his cell to go to bond court. He had been arrested at a mental facility. Now, video release shows Sutherland being tased multiple times. Back in July, solicitor Scarlett Wilson announced no charges would be filed against former detention sergeant Lindsay Fickett and former detention deputy Brian Hull. Now, Crump will speak at noon outside Solicitor Wilson's office. Sutherland's family and the attorney are expected to attend. We will have full coverage right here on Live 5 News at noon.
Maybe I will, just to see about all the men and maybe a selected woman or two asked to join. Can y'all guess who's going to be at the mic today? So I think, like I said, I think Reverend Nelson Rivers is the person behind it. Can you think of all the men that are going to be there? I feel like Dora the Explorer where she asks a question and it's just quiet. Can you guess? That's right, a man. Any women? That's right, no women. All right, it says right here, prominent. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be lighthearted about this, but typically it's just like, yeah, I mean, all right, a prominent civil rights attorney who represented the family of George Floyd is demanding criminal charges in the death of Jamal Sutherland, who died in custody while in the Charleston County Jail. Attorney Ben Crump will hold a news conference Tuesday to demand that the two former Charleston County detention deputies who were present when Sutherland died will be prosecuted. Who wrote that? They weren't just present, baby. They were active. Okay, let's get it together. All right, so let's just get this out the way right here because his eyes are killing me. Jeez.
After her accident, do you know how much Teresa had to pay?
All right, so this is Alex Murdaugh asked to leave. I'm just trying to do a quick news roundup before 8:30, before Kanae joins us. All right, so Alex Murdaugh asked to leave jail after 5 days behind bars. I don't get this. All right.
All counsel.
A prominent Lowcountry attorney is expected to face a bond hearing later this morning in Richland County.
According to the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, 53-year-old Alec Murdoch was booked into the Richland County Detention Center in Columbia this past Saturday.
Summer Hector joins us live in the newsroom with more on the charges that he's facing today. Good morning.
Aisha, Michael, good morning. Alec Murdoch is charged with 2 felony counts of obtaining property under false pretenses. Now, SLED investigators say he was arrested in Orange County, Florida last Thursday and arrived back in South Carolina over the weekend. SLED says the charges stem from their investigation into misappropriated settlement funds in the death of Murdoch's.
So he'll be up in Richland County, not down in the low country. Yeah. Yeah, they should just I don't know.
Longtime housekeeper Gloria Satterfield. Now, according to court documents, Satterfield died in February 2018 after she tripped and fell in the Murdoch home. Now, affidavits released over the weekend show Murdoch coordinated with Satterfield's family to sue himself in order to seek an insurance settlement. Officials say Murdoch recommended the family hire Corey Fleming to represent them, and Fleming brokered settlements totaling more than $4 million.
I want you to
Instead, affidavits state checks totaling more than $3
to understand what just happened there, because I don't want to speculate too recklessly, but did you catch that?
In the Murdoch home. Now, affidavits released over the weekend show Murdoch coordinated with Satterfield's family to sue himself in order to seek an insurance settlement. Officials say Murdoch recommended the family hire Corey Fleming to represent.
So this is the practice that I think also was this is just a guess. This is a practice of I think it went on with the Sutherland case. I think that once Mark Pepper was introduced to the family, as opposed to a civil rights attorney, right? He's like an injury attorney, I think, right? Or I know they do a bunch of different things over there at the Pepper law firm. But once Mark Pepper was able to kind of get his hooks in the family, he was able then to broker certain deals with Scarlett Wilson. Remember, Scarlett Wilson and Al Cannon are very closely associated with Mark Pepper, and I think Mark Pepper was able to and I don't want to take too much agency from the family, and I don't have any inside knowledge. Oh, I have some inside knowledge. I ain't gonna lie. Got a good little chunk of how all this shit went down. I'm not at liberty to talk about it. But beyond what I was told, what I wasn't told was what's the deal between Mark Pepper and Scarlett. And all I had to do was look at the last election to see, so Mark Pepper was never going to have the family ask for anything more than what Scarlett was willing to bring forward. They were always going to act in the best interest of law enforcement. Why am I mentioning that here is because I didn't know how common it was, and this just kind of I don't know, maybe y'all might think I'm a little off, but to hear that, hey, your mom died in my home, go ahead and go see this lawyer. He'll take care of it. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. I think lawyers steering families, grieving families in certain directions, I think that's more common than I ever realized, if that makes any sense. Because I definitely think that Mark Pepper guided the family in a direction where there would be less accountability aimed at the deputies who killed Jamal Sutherland.
Present them, and Fleming brokered settlements totaling more than $4 million. Instead, affidavits state that checks totaling more than $3 million were written by Fleming to a bank account owned by Murdoch titled Forge. That was used to facilitate and conceal his misappropriation of the funds in question. But according to affidavits, the Satterfield family was never notified of the settlements and never received settlements. Now, Murdoch's lawyers released a statement late last week saying he intends to fully cooperate with this investigation, as he has with the investigation into the murder of his wife and son. They also added that he deeply regrets that his actions have distracted from the efforts to solve the murders of his wife and son.
They were designed to do that.
Now, he is scheduled to appear before a magistrate.
Okay. Yeah, bouncing out. I'm really over the Murdoch thing. I don't. It's so convoluted right now, and I haven't really seen any content that I don't know. Oh, wow. I'm going to watch this later. Jesus. Charleston County releases dash cam video of fatal deputy involved shooting. Did they release the body cam? I wanted to see that law enforcement video, that story that broke over the weekend. I don't know if it's still readily available. But it might. I think it was reporting on that clip that Channel 2 shared. But I can't find it right now. Let me because it have like 9 minutes before Kanae comes. Let me kind of reset and get us back to this space of where I want. Yeah. Yes, it makes sense. I loved it. Yeah. Oh yeah. His cut was definitely substantial. Perception changer for real. That's the other thing too. Like he double dipped. The Mark Pepper law firm was able to get a portion of the settlement. Yes, as you know, that's typical. But I'm sure he also struck a deal because he delivered that family. He delivered a certain outcome that Scarlett and others, SLED and other law enforcement agencies really wanted. So let me center this conversation before Kanae gets here. So rigid radicalism in the left, and I subtitled it, or why the left thinks I'm a liberal. I wanted to read a little bit from, again, shout out Evelyn. This book is like, and then like when Evelyn told me about this book, I got it. And then when I went to Brooklyn, my homies up there had it. I'm like, oh, this the real shit right here. I want to read some of these quotes, and I'm gonna butcher some of these names of some of these philosophers and authors. And I might just type the name of this person because I don't want to mess it up. I think it's Zainab. Yeah. It says capitalism, colonialism, and heteropatriarchy makes us sick. Our responses are our responses healing us. Are our actions generating well-being for others? Or are we unintentionally reproducing the kind of relationships that made us sick in the first place? Right? Let me just read that first part. Capitalism, colonialism, and heteropatriarchy makes us sick. Are our responses healing us? And that's the question I would love to pose to those who were ready with the clapbacks yesterday, right? There was some other things in here that I wanted to read from this book. Again, it's called Joyful Militancy, right? Building, thriving, resisting toxic times. It's all about the really rigid left, right? And there's something I underlined here because these spaces are very unforgiving, unyielding, and they're punitive. And that's you know what, that's what it's kind of, there is a level of heartbreak that I experience. In that these are people who are abolitionists. These are people who are imagining futures without prisons. But yet when it comes to difference of opinion, they're just as punitive and unforgiving as the very systems that they seek to dismantle. And that's the heartbreak, is that they can't see that they're actually becoming the actual forces that they're railing against. They're exhibiting somewhat fascist-like behavior in the espousing of their opinions and their unrelenting like assault on anyone that has a divergent point of view. And that's where the heartbreak comes in, because I know that what you want and you're frustrated and you feel powerless. I know what you want. I know what you need. But being in a constant state of perpetual anger is going to destroy you before anything else. It's not damn sure ain't going to destroy me. So I want to see where, because I highlighted a bunch of stuff. All right, so let me just read what this paragraph. There is something that circulates in many radical spaces, movements, and milieus that saps their power from within. It is the pleasure of feeling more radical than others and the worry about not being radical enough. The sad comfort of sorting unfolding events into dead categories, the vigilant apprehension of errors and complexities in oneself and others. Can y'all understand? Let me read it again. I know I do this a lot and maybe it's annoying. There is something that circulates in many radical spaces, movements, and milieus that saps their power from within. It's the pleasure of feeling more radical than others and the worry about not being radical enough. The sad comfort of sorting unfolding events into dead categories like we saw yesterday with Colin Powell, right? Sorting unfolding events into dead categories. The vigilant apprehension of errors and complicities in oneself and others. Like you're afraid of making mistakes publicly on Twitter. So you try to craft the most radical tweet that no one can argue with, right? It's the paranoia that drives you to perform your radical politics, your radical point of view. You got to make sure it's perfect. It's you can't find any fault in it. It's over the top radical, right? You can never question my conviction, right? It's that thing, right? The suspicion and resentment felt in the presence of something new. The suspicion and resentment felt in the presence of something new. I identify with that so hard, right? The way curiosity feels naive. This is the thing right here. A lot of times where someone might be even begging a question, and we on the radical, rigid left, you can't even be curious. You can't have questions. You can't say because if you do, you're naive. Oh, you're a liberal. You've already been corrupted. You've been co-opted, right? Right? I'm gonna read it again. The way curiosity feels naive and condescension feels right. Ooh, come through. Because they got me yesterday. Ooh, burn. You called me a boomer or some bullshit. I don't know what the fuck some people call. I'm like, oh, you really feeling yourself. I'm like, okay, right? Because condescension feels right. Right? We can sense its emergence at certain times when we feel the need to perform in certain ways, hate the right things, and make the right gestures. Above all, it is hostile to indifference, curiosity, openness, and experimentation. Come on. Tell me y'all didn't feel some of that yesterday. Right? This hostility toward curiosity or hostility towards reflection that was nuanced, hostility towards curiosity and openness, right? People being vulnerable. Maybe Colin Powell's death did something to you that you didn't even anticipate. I know when D dropped it in the chat. Good morning, Joy. I know when D dropped it in the chat, I'm going to tell you the initial reaction. I think if I go back and watch when D dropped it and when I read it, you can kind of see me kind of respond. And I'm like, oh, shit. Right? Like I respond like, oh my God, I didn't anticipate that. I hadn't been thinking about Colin Powell like that. Right? But I'm like, oh man, damn. That was a natural involuntary reaction to a man dying. And I'm okay with that. Right? So Joey, you said absolutely. I'm glad you heard that. Susanna, you said, yes, I need to get this book. Get this book. Get this book, because I'm telling you, the left be going so left that they hitting right. I'm telling you, they going so left that they right. And I'm like, nope, getting off this fucking train. Like, there's too much blue sky, too many green trees, too much green grass, too many acres on Wamala, too many boat rides, too much joy in my life. I can't live like this either. And so, okay, Kanae's coming. So Kanae's coming up next, and she's going to call my phone, and we're going to patch her in the hotline. Y'all might hear some quality enhancements. You might. This is my first time trying my new toy. No, let me do this. I'm not going to turn it up yet. But, yeah, you might hear quality. I invest in this platform because you deserve it. Your ears deserve it. You got to listen to me struggle through words. But yeah, let me read this. Okay, let me read this real quick before she calls. Okay. It says rigid radicalism is both fixed in a way of being and a way of fixing. Say it again. Rigid radicalism is both a fixed way of being. Oh. Can y'all hear? All right, let's see. Can y'all hear? All right, Kanae. Can you hear me? How you doing? Well, let me turn you up. Hold on. Can y'all? All right, everyone in. Ooh, I'm a little too loud, I think. All right. I've never done this with this. Okay, hold on. I might have to turn it down a little bit. All right, can you just say something, Kanae? You sound marvelous. I just don't know how I sound, but Oh, they say they can't hear you. Hold up. I might have to have you. Y'all can't hear her? Hold on a second. Kanae, 1 second. Well, you know what? I'm going to call right back, and I'm going to turn on my Bluetooth. Give me a second, and I'm going to turn on the Bluetooth, okay? All right. Sorry about this. Okay. All right, y'all. Hold up. Yeah, that didn't work. It was, yeah, still nothing. All right. We'll fix that. I don't know what that was. All right, but we're going to make sure the Bluetooth is connected. It is connected. All right. We'll work it out. Here we go.
Master plan.
my ringtone. All right, check, mic check. How you doing, Kanae? Oh, shit. Now you're not on. Wait. Now, okay. This is a grassroots production, Kanae. So I appreciate you bearing with me, and I appreciate you making time. I know they can hear you now because I see everything up here. So yeah. Okay. Go ahead and introduce yourself one more time. I have your graphic up, the one I sent you this morning. I have your graphic up so people see your beautiful face. And I put yoga guide, and I really wanted you just to help facilitate a space of healing. Just introdushe yourself, and then we just chat for just a little bit.
Okay. My name, like Mika said, is Kanae Miller. I use she, her pronouns. I am honored to be a yoga guide and the founder of Transformation Yoga in the Tri-County area. And
no, that's good.
I think that's good.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And so, Kanae, I think I'm gonna go back to my do not disturb while I'm at it. But I'm gonna go back to the text I sent you last night, because I hopped off the phone with a friend and was discussing, just to give you a little context. So, news, everyone's saying welcome and thumbs up to you. I know you can't see them, but they're giving you love. But the news broke yesterday. Colin Powell, we know his history. We're not really litigating that. But I was triggered by what I call competitive evisceration, and almost like this performative, rigid, progressive activism that's most, I guess, widely seen maybe on IG, maybe on Twitter. And so instead of I don't want to spend too much time attacking authors of those texts that I find or just purely antagonistic and overly rigid. I really wanted to talk to you about, creating radical spaces of healing, and perhaps I guess if you can tell people more about how you show up in spaces where these oppressive forces are everywhere, and maybe how do you reset and all that other stuff.
Right. So to speak to some of that from my experience, and really in curating healing spaces, at the root of it for me is really understanding the framework. And this shows up, or should show up, in yoga spaces, and it doesn't always. There's the yoga philosophy of ahimsa, which is non-harming, right? Mm-hmm. And non-harming doesn't mean, I'm about to be vegan and just drink my green juice because that's what's good to my body. But non-harming even means the practice of how we're engaging with each other in the world, our silence being complicit to the pain and suffering that others are enduring, and what's happening to ourselves collectively. And so even the practice of yoga tells us to take action in times like this, that our personal lives are political, and we can't sit on the sidelines and do nothing. And also going to yoga and getting in a good flow or a sweat or getting in a spin class or meditating because that feels good to us does not remove us from still taking further action. Mm. And so what the practice of yoga should do, that again, white supremacy shows up in that as well. But what the practice does do for us is it gives us a skill to regulate our nervous system so we can be present to all that is. Mm. We cannot continue showing up in activist spaces when we're burnt out, when folks don't have what they need as far as, even living sustainability, whether it's food, whether it's housing. How can we be on the front lines and fight for the benefit of the collective if we can't care for ourselves? And so yoga and meditation are tools to help us ground into what is present, what's showing up in our bodies, and regulate our nervous systems in a way that we're not being reactive, We're not following up with, well, the news wants to push out this or that propaganda. We're coming from a place where we're able to use our own discernment and say, all right, what's really real here? All right, are the people asking for this? Are we just being some extra PC to look woke, performative, right? Or are we really taking this to heart? Are we leaning in and listening to the most marginalized communities in this area? And if we're not, then we probably need to be quiet and listen, because we're not the leaders in this aspect, right? And the practice of yoga, the practice of wellness, the practice of meditation should ground us in being able to do that. Unless that was a performance too, though.
What's the Cash App? What's the Cash App? What's the Venmo? I'm gonna type it in the chat here. What is it?
It's Transformation Yoga SC for South Carolina.
Transformation Yoga for SC?
SC.
Oh, SC. Okay. Y'all, because okay, and I'm gonna be a little, I didn't prep you for this, but I'm gonna be very candid. That's what I do, Kanae. I'm very candid. It's not strategic, it's just who I am. Kanae and I, we worked together a few years ago on an amazing yoga event. Shout out to Kate Counts, who was also a part of that, right? But I can't even, I'm gonna be real honest with you when I say I can't even understand, I can't completely understand why we stopped kind of being friends or kind of being comrades in this space. But whatever it was, I know this, it was bullshit. And I will say this, I'm trying not to get emotional, but like if I was still steeped in like that rigid shit of everyone having to show up exactly the way I need them to show up or how I imagine them showing up, I was still wedded to that rigid radicalism, I wouldn't be on the phone right here with Kanae right now. And I've gone through a lot of growth, and not because I've lost things, but just because life just put me in a position. And Kanae, when I texted you last night, I literally don't take it for granted that at 9 o'clock? I don't know, late as hell, or at least like late in terms of last minute. When I texted you last night, you did not hesitate to show up in this space. And I think what you just offered this conversation and in the act of you showing up in this space right now for me when I asked you to is a testament to your strength and your leadership in this space. And I just want to say thank you, and I'm grateful that you didn't say, well, nah, fuck that. I don't really bang with her no more. I just want to say that. I know I didn't tell you I was going to say that. I didn't even think I was going to say that. But I really appreciate you, sis. I really do.
Yeah. That's what we do, though. Like, I mean,
right.
For me, the way I see it, Tamika, like, it wasn't a personal thing. Like, I'm not upset. I'm not hurt. And I also know that this is how forms of oppression come up. They tell us because we're not doing it this way, this or that person cares less. They're not committed to the cause. And if we're divided and arguing with each other about how the work is getting done, then we're not both putting our attention on what oppression is happening anyway. They're still winning.
Right.
I don't have time to fight you because honestly, whether you're liberal or whether you're progressive or whether you're Democratic or Republican, are we both moving towards liberation?
Come on.
And at the end of the day, whether it's politics, I mean, you can side with whatever side you want to. At the end of the day, if you want to make sure that I'm free and you're free at the same time, I'm with it. Come on.
Because that's it. That's the goal, is liberation. Can we get free? How we get free.
Right.
And I really, again, I think that your lens and what I really wanted to do, Kanae, when I give you ample notice and we actually plan it out like we did when we used to kind of strategize, I do want to bring you back because you're not done yet. We're not done. But I want to bring you back in the future because I did a whole thing on wellness, and that's kind of how we started talking again, the problematic wellness community. But I don't want to center the problems. I wanted to bring you back to talk about perhaps the whole wellness landscape. So if you will, I don't know if you can entertain it, but would you like to come back? Maybe even people can see your face the next time, but outside of the graphic that's up. But, would you entertain coming back for like a longer, expansive conversation about wellness community here in Charleston?
Of course, absolutely. And I also want to throw out there, too, these conversations are the beginning to the healing, but that's not where it ends, right? Like we can read the book, but if we can't apply it, it doesn't matter. We can show up to the yoga class and say, you know, I'm participating in self-care, but how does your self-care contribute to the collective? And if it doesn't, you really just being selfish. Like you aren't thinking about collective liberation, right? So use that, and folks should use that. I want to offer that as an invitation to, okay, if you're already in wellness spaces, how are those wellness spaces showing up?
Yeah.
And I don't mean you know, suddenly they have a cause they want to all send donations to.
Ooh.
Look at the languaging they're using. Look at the efforts that they're putting in. Look at, you know, what propaganda they're supporting, or if they've really deciphered and used their own discernment. And if they just started doing that, right? Like you spoke to, you know, that's how some of the QAnon things came up and moved into the wellness arena, because again, the operation of power, right? Folks are willingly in yoga and healing spaces, willingly giving their power away to someone that's calling themselves a guru, thinking that it's going to help them, when all they're doing is just shifting power into another oppressive system.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something.
So let's get to chilling.
Right. And I realized after I had the conversation that it would have been, it was a good conversation. I'm glad I broke some of that stuff, but then you helped me. Like you just shared some of the thoughts you just shared just now with my audience. You shared that with me via text and stuff. And I realized that, I need someone from within this to really define this and to name it and to call it out, so people can honestly hear what I'm talking about when we talk about like the pastel Q here and all the other things that creep in, especially here locally in Charleston, what creeps in here and some of the newcomers with, you know, suspicious agendas, I guess. Sometimes it's just, you know, try not to be overly paranoid, but like some suspicions, you know, like people just pop up out of nowhere and they're talking about Black liberation. I'm like, where you been? You know, last like 5 years. But so okay. So why I brought you here this morning, though, I asked you last night, was like, would you mind guiding us through like a guided meditation? I know it's probably, I don't know if it's awkward for you over the phone, but I kind of wanted to invite my listeners and viewers to kind of just you know, just want to invite them into a space of radical healing. You know, and I wanted to let you freestyle however you want to do it. It could be 5 minutes. It could be whatever you want. But would you mind doing that right now?
No, I have no problem at all.
Okay.
So whoever is listening to this now or later, just in this moment, I want to invite you to adjust your posture. Whether you're seated, whether you want to lay down, whether you just want to sit back in the chair and relax a little bit, if you want to close your eyes or not close your eyes. And in the moment, just notice what's happening with your breath. So one of my teachers and mentors, Michelle Johnson, always shares that, you know, forms of oppression take our breath away. And especially in activist spaces where sometimes folks are protesting and maybe saying, I can't breathe. Our breath is just that powerful. Our breath is us choosing to show up for life. And so in this moment, just be aware of what's happening with your breath. Being invited into this space that Tamika has created to not only have this conversation, what's happening with your breath. Notice if your breath only goes to your chest. And then I want to invite you to see if you can take that breath a little bit deeper. Notice if you can bring the breath down to your belly. What does it feel like to breathe deeply and fully? And not because you went to a doctor. In this moment, begin to notice what's happening in your body. Begin to notice if there's any tightness, if the heart is beating faster, any of those things. And just make space for all of that to be present at once. If it's available to you, start to breathe in through your nose. Let it fill up the chest and the belly, and then exhale out of the nose, releasing all of the breath. Remember that every breath that you take is a movement or an act of rebellion towards oppression. And although you can breathe deeply and you have the tools to regulate so you can continue showing up, it doesn't end there. It doesn't end with these conversations. It doesn't end with book clubs. That our liberation is found in each other, and it takes each of us breathing to continue towards liberation. Stay here with the breath. And if there are any areas of tension or stress in your body, see if you can direct the breath to that muscle group or those bones. See if you can visualize those areas in your body softening. And again, just be with what's present here. Don't try to control it. Don't try to label it as good or bad. It just is. And now, no matter where you are, see if you can hear the sound of your breath. And let this experience, as you're focusing on the sound of your breath, be your first practice of counterculture, where you're learning to tune out the noise that's in the world or in the room or the space that you're in. And you're learning to tune within yourself. You're learning to tune into your breath, the sound of your breath, your signature of liberation, so that you can continue to show up. Whenever you're ready at your own pace, continue taking a couple more breaths. And then when you're ready, maybe slowly begin to open the eyes and just shake the body out. Shake in whatever way or dance in whatever way feels authentic to your body and your experience. One of the things about trauma, little trauma and big trauma that we experience moving through the world is most mammals, right, when they get away from a predator or they escape, they pause for a moment and shake it off. They release that trauma that has approached their bodies. And for us humans, for some reason, we experience something and feel like we just got to keep going. So we're taking a layer of trauma on trauma on trauma. And we need to discharge that so that our nervous system stay regulated and we don't move from a space of reaction, but from a place of planned action.
Oh, goodness. Kanae, thank you so much. Like, that was just, I hope you heard the music. I don't know, were you able to hear the music?
Yes.
I threw that in there, but I feel so grateful. I'm overwhelmed. I keep clutching my core. I just feel full, and I just want to say thank you. And like I said, you definitely got to come back. We got to see your face like moving and whatnot. We'll set it up. But I would love to have you come back. And sis, thank you so much. Cash App is on the way. Transformation. Let me see if I wrote it right. Transformation Yoga SC. Cash App for me coming on the way. But hopefully I'm going to encourage some of my followers to go ahead and chip in as well and send you some love. Because what you do is not easy. What you do is not slight. It's not, I don't know what to say. It's very important. And thank you so much for everything you do for us.
Absolutely.
All right.
Anytime.
All right,
Thank
sis.
you so much.
I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, man. Jeez. Woo. Woo. I'm telling you, I did not plan on like getting emotional, nothing like that. And it wasn't like major beef. We just like, we fell away. And that's how like oppression, I'm telling, this is real. Y'all know me. Very, very, very Venmo. I don't know if it's Venmo. I think it's Cash App. You can search it on Venmo though. Or it might be on her website, Transformation Yoga. It might be on the website. Let me actually try to help y'all out instead of just looking. Let's see. Let's go. Thank y'all so much for participating in that with me. I think it's important. I think it was important to create a space to kind of like a palate cleanser. So I appreciate your warm responses to it. Let me see. Connect. I don't know. But yeah, go to social media, maybe Instagram, and maybe she has stuff in the bio. But this is the website, transformationyogasc.com. About us, who we are. And then the team. Oh, my music's still playing. Let me stop it. Oh, that felt good. Yeah. So yeah, maybe the Instagram or the website has more information. But please make sure you support Kanae, Transformation Yoga. And definitely gonna have her back to do like part 2 of that whole wellness discussion. Yeah, because we was going, we was going back and forth. We was sending each other voice memos, right? Yeah. Thumbs up. You wrote thumbs up. That's cute. Oh, maybe you talked to text. Maybe that's what you're doing. But yeah, thank you so much. You said I was bent. You was bent like a shrimp when she said, check your posture. Me too. Like, I'm like, oh, like a wicked witch. Oh, over this keyboard. And I kept trying to roll my shoulders. Y'all, I'm like I've never like, I feel like a child sometimes. I can be real restless. Even in meditation, I'm supposed to be like still. So if you go back, if your eyes were closed, you go back and watch, you can see me just moving, just trying to like get into it. I was bent like a shrimp too, little mama. But yeah, no, I thought it was important to have Kanae present and to have create that moment. I'm going to get into the book. I'm not even going to be on here as long as I usually am. Probably going to around 9ish, probably tap out. But I wanted to continue to, I wanted to do some things. Let me see. Yeah, I kind of wanted to read from the book. I definitely wanted to pull from the book and just talk about some mindfulness practices. But I also wanted to hear, like, if I said anything that you like vehemently disagree with, please, like, this is general. Like, I don't mind. That's one thing I do pride myself on. I am not afraid. I am not afraid of conflict. I'm not afraid of disagreeing with friends. I'm not so yesterday, at some of the stuff, as I realized that I was in complete curmudgeon mode with the Twitter reaction, right? I called an even more staunch centrist Democrat friend of mine, Theo, up in Camden, New Jersey. Theo and I do not see politics the same, yet we are very, very close friends. Well, we're close-ish, but we're close friends. We're close friends. And so I know Theo sees things very differently. Theo's also on the spectrum, which I think helps him see quality confrontation. Yep, equals growth. There you go. Theo and I see things very differently. I think he would be considered a centrist or a moderate Democrat, right? So I call him. I'm like, yo, I'm having these feelings, right? Like, this left, what the left is doing, what I'm seeing, it's bullying. Oh, if you want to remember anything outside of just the worst things about Colin Powell, you're bullying people. Like, I'm like, I really resoundingly reject that, right? I resoundingly reject that because I don't think that that's honest or true. And Theo was like, yeah, I agree with you. And I was kind of surprised. But I was happy that I sought out somebody who had such a very different view of the world. And our conversation that follows was wrought with like, not derision or divisiveness. It was just wrought with like, well, I see it this way. But we were able to walk away and hang up, with mutual respect, love, feeling grateful for that exchange. We laughed, we joked about Ben Simmons. Like we did a lot. Because he's in the Philly area. He's a Sixers fan. But yeah, but that's what I really want us to start having, these relationships that are not just with people that are completely in alignment with us. No, yeah, I mean, like I'm not saying expose yourself to to people who cause harm, right? I'm not saying you should have to subject yourself to harmful people or places or rhetoric, but what I'm saying is that we cannot afford. We've seen it with the right. When you're in an echo chamber, when you're only curating news from one source, when you're not reading things that challenge you, when you're not engaging people thoughtfully and mindfully, who have different opinions, when you can't do that. And I'm saying that because you heard me get emotional talking to Kanae. Like, I can't, to this day, cannot put a maybe somebody knows and like, bitch, you did this. But I definitely would throw people away. I throw friends away. I am that person. If you don't say the thing I want, if I don't think you loyal enough, I throw you away. Now, I don't do it like that, but I can do that. That's the Scorpio in me or whatever. But then when it came to organizing and creating community, I realized, oh, bitch, ooh, you're going to pay a penalty for that, right? And I'm not saying I talk to myself negatively. I'm like, oh, like, get it together. I'm like, bitch. And so I realized that, and one of my friends said, you got this fight or flight, like, tendency that kind of spills over to other things. And when they said that, I felt like offended, and I'm like, they right. And so I realized in me, the reason why I'm so passionate about it is because I used to do this shit. And I probably will do it. I probably will fuck up and do it again. But the point is that I can realize it and call it out when I see it, because I was complicit in the bullshit. I was policing people's tweets and policing their thoughts and putting values on, oh, they're not radical enough. Good morning, Kia. They're not radical. Y'all missed the meditation. Y'all missed the meditation, D. That's what y'all get for being late. Yeah. So yeah, we had Kanae up here, y'all, for y'all coming late. I'll switch, okay. We had Kanae on the mic'd up hotline, and she let us in. I'll leave it up because it's nice to look at her face. But like, yeah, I used to do this stuff. I used to be complicit in that, and so that's why I can recognize it in other people. I'm not pious. I'm not self-righteous, and this is not that. It's just, I know, because I used to do that. I used to throw away people who didn't act right, and I think that, again, it cannot place what it was, and I'm not saying that on purpose, but like I'm not being I'm not hiding the truth, but I know that it probably was with Kanae and I, was that we were difference of opinions, difference in the way we approach things. I was frustrated because of the rejection in Charleston, because of not being able to pay bills at one point, not being able to secure steady employment at one point. I got frustrated, and that frustration would kind of lend itself into other areas of my life, and it would damage relationships that I was trying to forge with either other activists or other people in the space of working toward Black liberation, right? And so I think Kanae and a couple others were casualties. Now, there's some people who just like cross me, and I'm like, we good. I don't need to be in community with you anymore. But there were some people that, like, why are you throwing them away? Like, why? So I wanted to continue to get back in the book of, yeah, that's her. Okay, is her Venmo? Okay. Yeah. Joy, thank you, D-Man. Joy, you said you relate so much to what I'm saying. Thank you. I encourage effective conversation, and it weirds some people out. You encourage effective conversation, and it weirds some people out. So many take disagreement personally. Yes. And that can be harmful. Absolutely. It's like the more technology we get, the more technology, I'm gonna switch it back. It's like the more technology we have access to, the more information, the way I could talk to somebody over in Bangladesh right now if I wanted to, right? By hopping on Twitch or hopping, the way we have so much more access to different people, different areas, different places, yet it's made us smaller. It's made us way smaller and more like confined. And it's really weird to watch. And especially when you disagree with people, people take it very personally. Yeah, take it very personally. And sometimes when I disagree with you, it's like some people don't go back and forth. I'm not saying I want to fight, but like, it's okay to have a conversation. And I'm realizing that I call conversation dancing sometimes. I liken it to dancing. And sometimes I'm like, yo, we got to teach people how to have a conversation. We got to teach people how to dance. Because they don't know how to, like, if someone says something you don't agree with, you don't have to come back by being combative. Just come back and like, oh, what do you mean? Like, ask questions. And we don't do that enough. Like, it just stops there. And it's just like, is that a function of like social media? Like everyone treats conversation like a comment section almost. But I just plop that there and then I walk off and go get a sandwich. Right? Hey, good morning, Allie. It said you also notice that people, and maybe in the South in general, don't engage in conflict. Definitely that patina of politeness, Allie, that I always talk about with Charleston, that patina of politeness. Yeah. Be curious, right? So I this morning, for those who weren't there, I was reading from Joyful Militancy. Shout out to my girl Evelyn, who told me to get this book. I got the book, Joyful Militancy. It's all about rejecting rigid radicalism, right? And I read. I'm just gonna read it again because it was so good. No, let me not do too much. No, so I will read this. Okay, so I'm gonna read this again. It says rigid radicalism is both a fixed way of being and a way of fixing. It fixes the sense of attempting to repair seeing emergent movements as inherently flawed. Let me read it again. It fixes in the sense of attempting to repair seeing emergent movements as inherently flawed. To fix is to see lack everywhere. To fix is to see lack everywhere and treat struggles and projects as broken, right? And insufficient, right? Does that make sense? All right. And then like there's a quote here. Let me see. So it's talking about the phenomenon. Like, again, it started off by saying that there's something that circulates in radical spaces, right? The pleasure of feeling more radical than others, that competitive evisceration I said too, right? Feeling more radical than others, and that fear of not being radical enough. That's what really drives like that Twitter discourse a lot, right? And then I gotta reread this part. It says, we can sense its emergence at certain times when we feel the need to perform in a certain way, hate the right things, and make the right gestures, right? Above all, it is hostile to indifference. The rigid radicalism is hostile to indifference, is hostile to curiosity, is hostile to openness, and hostile to experimentation. This phenomenon cannot be exhaustively described because it's always mutating and recirculating. The problem is not simply that people are unaware of it. We think it is common among those touched by radical milieus. As the anarchist researcher, organizer Charles Dixon writes, whenever the topic comes up in discussions, I found it quickly evokes head nods and horror stories about takedowns on social media, organizational territorialism, activist social status hierarchy. I'm guilty of that shit right there. Activist social status hierarchy, sectarian posturing, and the general atmosphere of radical self-righteousness, right? It can be tricky. It can be risky to discuss all this publicly. There's always the chance that one will be cast as liberal, right? As an oppressor or as a reactionary. But go back to what Kanae said, right? Go back to what Kanae said. I know I keep pointing to myself like I'm crazy. Go back to what Kanae said. That are we reacting to things, right? Because that was one of the words. Then they says like, oh, you'll be cast as liberal or oppressor or reactionary. Go back to what Kanae said, that are we just reacting to white supremacy or oppressive forces? Are we just reacting every day in, day out, that exhaustive practice? Or are we standing firm in who we are? Are we solid in who we are? Right? And I always said this. I said this to, I think, Marcus one time, or the younger organizers. I'm like, y'all playing whack-a-mole. Every time one of these groups do something, it's to get your reaction. It's to get you to organize around their movement. And I said, you have to start defining movement for you have to create your own routines. You have to create your own, you have to create your own systems to where you're not just responding and playing white supremacy whack-a-mole, where they dictate your activism, they dictate your movement work. You have to have something that stands in the liberation work that you're trying to work at, right? And I'm not saying that Marcus and them are flawed or needed my advice or anything, but like and they clearly are rooted in things other than just responding to white supremacy. You can see that through their mutual aid. You can see that through other things they do, right? So it's not just dictated or predicated upon like, oh, what the white man gonna do, what racist whitey over here with the flag gonna do. It's not predicated on that. So like when Kanae was telling us to make sure we know, to be firm in where we are and be present and to really have this mindfulness about our bodies and that mindfulness in general, as opposed to just reacting and responding to white supremacy. That shit is exhausting. That's why, no, don't come to my page. Now, of course, some breaking news that's pertinent to Charleston, of course I'm going to have that on, like, when a certain trial is something that we're all watching, we're captivated as Americans, of course I'm going to hop on there. I might not. But don't come to me always, like, because I learned that it was killing me. It literally was driving me crazy to constantly feel the need to respond. I didn't have the capacity to give you any hot takes on some of the things that I don't have a Colin Powell hot take. I don't have a Jersey Fresh in this chat. It is Jersey Fresh in this chat. I wasn't ambivalent at his death, but I was ambivalent like a little bit. There was a little bit of ambivalence, like, oh man, that's sad that somebody, because it sounded like he died like really sick, right? On top of that, another COVID casualty. But it sounded like he was dealing, like, who knew? I didn't know he had all these this cancer and blood cancer and all this issue. As a human being, it sounded horrible. And like I said, when you dropped it in the chat, you could probably see my face, even though I didn't talk about it because I'll get distracted. And I didn't want to take away from yesterday's conversation about the wolf of Meeting Street. But like I had a reaction. Like I remember, like, oh shit. Like when D dropped it in the chat, and that was my genuine reaction. All right, in the chat over here, let me see. Allie, oh my God, who's from Jersey? Y'all all from Jersey? Jesus, wait, what's going on over here? All right, hold on. Let's see. That's right, Susanna, I knew that. Okay, so when I first moved to South Carolina, people thought I was confrontational, and always Susanna confrontational. Eventually I realized it was just because I'm from New Jersey and people don't know how to argue around here. I'm telling you, they don't know how to argue or haggle. Like, I'm a haggler. When I buy like stuff at like a street fair in Jersey or something, and like I expect the back and forth. That's, Susanna, can I just say this? I miss that the most. I said it last night. I miss the back and forth. I miss that. It's in hip hop. It's in a lot of the things. Let me switch up the view because I don't want to keep looking at my face. Not just my face. And let me get Kanae marvelous. But let's switch up to something else. Maybe to this tweet that since this really bothered people yesterday, me sharing this really bothered people. Not that many people, but just enough to get me to respond. But Susanna, I miss that. It's in hip hop, it's in sports. Like, when athletes, they're not really mad at each other, but they get in each other's face and they talk shit. Like, I'm not saying I want that. Don't do that to me at Target. Please don't. Don't do that to me over in Trader Joe's by the buffalo chicken dip. Please don't do that. But I miss that, like, spirited discourse. It's like when my father, so in the holidays, my father has like pretty much lost his Gullah accent, except when he's around his nephews and his brothers-in-law and other men from the Low Country. Then that accent comes out, and then Thanksgiving becomes the loudest thing I've ever been, louder than NASCAR. Like, if you've ever been to NASCAR, right? My dad and these men, they just erupt. And if you walk in, if you didn't understand, you would think people were fighting, but they're not. You just hear a lot of baritone and barking. And it's a sight to see. It's even more like, it's a lot to hear, but I like that. And I really wish that there was like a little element, maybe a couple drops of that in some of our discourse. And what the book's author says in an interview that I listened to this morning, the book author said, and I believe this is why my house is covered in art. That's why I have a wall that you might think that should belong to a 20-year-old, the wall of activism and inspiration, I call it, here with protest art and notes from y'all and things like that. It's very light and fluffy. It makes me feel happy to wake up in the morning and see this wall with all this beautiful art and these notes from y'all and mementos from trips and stuff like that. Hold on, I'm getting distracted. But what I guess what I'm trying to say is that I wish we could take a drop of that like hearty discourse and that back. I forgot where I was going. I got so distracted by my wall. I was just looking at my art. But I wish we could take some of that discourse, that back and forth, that's not contentious, it's generative conflict, and have these conversations. Oh, that's what I was going to say. So the authors of the book said that art, usually art or having an artistic element, something creative, shout out D, having something creative in your organizing efforts actually helps to build that community. Not when you just showing up saying, yeah, we're going to protest, make these signs, let's make these signs, and let's get our safety plan together, and who's got the Kevlar, like who's wearing the helmets, you know what I mean? Like, who's toting heat, like who's the legal watchers, like observers. Like beyond that, are you getting together? Are you having fun? Like Friends of Gadsden Creek, shout out to Rebecca. We at Rebecca's grandma's house. I didn't know you can have boat access in North Charleston, but apparently you can have your own. I didn't know that. But we're out there chilling. I didn't jump in the water. I can't swim, but I got in the pool. I didn't get into the what is that, the lake? Ashley River? I don't know what the fuck. But we as the Friends of Gadsden Creek, we always commune. And if I don't commune with the entire collective, I'm in Brooklyn with Amron, or I'm in Brooklyn with Seb, or, we do things together outside of just organizing. Right? Taylor joined me on my podcast. That was fun to have that conversation with Taylor. I got to know her better this last week. Like, so to having art and something creative a part of your movement work is very important. It's one of the reasons why I created the curriculum with Benny. I was really drawn to how like I could have my intellectual side meet up with my creative side and create this curriculum around how to leverage arts and culture, in the fight for Black liberation and indigenous sovereignty. Right. And that, to me, it strengthens the work and it softens the work a little bit. It takes away from that rigidity. For real. I went off on a little tangent. Sorry. But Susanna, thank you. Or you said kids, or they could be butthurt when you calling them out. Did that too. Yeah, too. But it is a Jersey thing. Yeah. That's what I talk about all the time. Yeah. So D, you wrote in the chat, oftentimes the emergence is the journey. It's not about the destination we've decided on in our heads. Absolutely. Justin, you went on to say a little bit earlier, because I was not scrolling. Oh, I lost it. Hold up. Justin, you said, oh, no. That was an older comment. Sorry. You said, you did say this. I don't agree that piling on Colin Powell shows left rigidity, but I think you don't think that. Okay, but I think I did understand the larger point you were making about military recruiters focus on why they're. Yeah, so you don't. So it's not so much piling on Colin Powell. It's the you don't. Do you see, Justin? Do you see, or anyone else who don't agree with me, which is cool? Do you see like the race to? Did you see the all of the takes that were each one more radical than the next? Did you see that crescendo of like performative radicalism? It's not about what you think about Colin Powell. I agree. Blood on his hands. I agree. Right? Complicit in a lot of heinous, unforgivable things in terms of like those acts. Yes, I agree. But I'm talking about whenever someone else chooses to have a more moderate view, then the conversation shifts to, you're not radical enough. You're old enough to remember what really happened. How dare you? Why are you like this? Why, Ilhan Omar, why are you doing this? That policing of speech, that's a problem. That's just as punitive as the systems that you're trying to dismantle. I already said that like Colin Powell is fair game. Do your thing. I'm indicting the practice of performative radicalism. It's just for third party perception. It's for an audience. It's for an audience. Them people wasn't thinking about the scores, and some of them weren't thinking about scores and scores of civilians who died, while Colin Powell was Joint Chiefs of staffing it up, right? And it's the thing that No Name used to do when she had a thing with Beyonce. She was indicting billionaires, and I'm right there with you, No Name. I'm right there with you. But then some black boy dies in Africa, and because Beyonce had a special in Africa, No Name comes up and says, well, if black is king, Beyonce, how about you talk about this death over in Africa? And I'm like, so you're going to use this death of this innocent boy on this continent, I can't remember the country, you're going to use that to make another point about billionaires and Beyonce being problematic, because she is. You're going to use that death to make this point about billionaire status and celebrity status in America. That's disgusting to me. That's heinous. And the same thing with the casualties of war, the civilian casualties of war. They're not fodder for your fucking Twitter arguments. You don't give a fuck about them. You give a fuck about one-upping the next person. It's one-upsmanship. You don't care about those casualties of war, not to no great extent. Why would you ever use that? That's like why would you ever use that type of carnage, that type of death? Why would you use that to make a point, right, about your politics? To me, that's gross. That's disgusting. And that's what I saw all day. Thousands, hundreds of thousands. You don't give a like, they didn't die for you to do that. They didn't die for you to score points on Twitter. They didn't die so you can get Hassan to retweet you. They didn't die so you can get, whomever to retweet you. That's the shit I don't like. Play the Chief Keef, right? And I'm not coming at you. I'm really coming at the nameless avatar faction. I'm not coming at you, Justin, at all. I know it sounds like that, but I'm from Jersey. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Yeah, what do you want me to do? All right. Yeah. But yeah, Common Pound's fair game. Like, have at it. But like, y'all know when it's performative. Y'all know when it is. Y'all know when y'all just saying shit for other people. Yes, Mika, don't play their game. You said it earlier. Whiteness is taught to keep that ish down. Yeah, that too. Yeah, for sure. Twitter, it's negative space. And like, okay, so let me just get back into the book instead of going on about the left. I'm just trying to call it out when I see it. But that stuff right there was something else too. What I like about this book too is that it has a glossary. So you like this, they talk about, oh man, I know I put bookmarks in here. Did they all fall out? They fell out. Oh, they surely did. They on the floor. Damn. All right. But anyway, it's a really good book, y'all. It's really good. Like it starts off with saying it's capitalism and all that stuff is making us sick. Are our responses making us better? I would venture that a lot of our responses to oppressive forces is not making us better, right? Ooh, it starts off with a Gil Scott-Heron quote too. In the beginning, before the foreword, it says, let me see. We've all heard so many conflicting words about life, whether wrong or right. How you gotta be working hard, and it ain't no easy job to survive, just to keep alive. And I think that's something to keep in mind too. Like, we're all fighting these oppressive forces. We're all fighting against things. I don't want to watch this. I wanted to encourage you all to, so right now, all right, no need to disclaim. Okay, cool. I just want to make sure, because I'm telling you, but I wanted to encourage, all right, so now I'm about to dip, because I'm going to dip early, because I really do need to prioritize peace of mind. Again, lift up the book. Please cop it. Please cop it. It's so dope. It is. I think people will really like this a lot. Yeah. From the Institute of Anarchist Studies. Yes. Okay. So I want to just share some things that kind of help me stay grounded and stay present, and to prioritize pleasure sometimes, or sometimes you have to divest from news, divest from social media, maybe temporarily, maybe like for like an extended period of time. That's the one thing I learned yesterday. Log the fuck off. You don't have to be here, Mika. You don't have to be here. Why are you being, what are you doing? Why are you complaining? Just go ahead and turn on Skip and Shannon and watch that foolishness, right? And not just avoid things, because I did, like I said, I talked to friends yesterday. I consulted with Kanae. I invited Kanae here. We did them. Like, I knew I was going to create what I felt was a constructive space, but I'm like, log the fuck off. Stop. So then one thing I want to lift up is that read some Adrienne Marie Brown. That's it. Pleasure Activism. I haven't even read that yet, but I got to get this book. Consume some Adrienne Marie Brown. That's number one. Also wanted to share some things that have been helping me show up in this space every morning and not let y'all know I suffer from bipolar 2. I have anxiety. I've been hospitalized multiple times with mental health issues before I moved down here. I don't mind sharing that. And I'm not saying that so you can I'm not trying to emotionally manipulate you and mentioning like all this stuff about me. I'm just sharing with you because I'm trying to foster that place, and hopefully y'all share what y'all can and will, what you can and want to share here as well. This is an open space. Hey, Charlie the Brit. So I suffer from bipolar 2 disorder. I've gone through things like everybody who watching this right now. We've gone through different things. We experienced trauma. We experienced loss. I've talked about the loss of my 2 older siblings. My older brother died of a sudden asthma attack in 2009. My sister died of complications from lupus and some other stuff in 2013. And that was what prompted me to move down here to South Carolina to be close to my parents. I just wanted to be closer to family since 2 of my siblings who were in New Jersey were no longer there. So I'm like, you know what? Let me move down. Twin brothers in Chicago. My half brothers, from my dad's first marriage are down here. I'm like, let me just move down south, right? And I'm bringing that all up because I'm like, it's hard to show up sometimes because a lot of that stuff is still up in here and still in here, and it's not easy. I might make it look easy to some of y'all. It's surely not. It really isn't, especially now when I'm on this tightrope without a safety net, which is a job, right? Which is a traditional job. So one thing my therapist suggested that I get before I lost my health insurance and lost access to my therapist. Tell me why I'm really bitter. She suggested that I try ashwagandha. So I initially bought ashwagandha, and I'm not telling y'all, I'm not a doctor. All right. But so initially I bought the capsule form. I never heard of it before. I'm like, all right, she kind of a hotep, but I'm not on behavioral meds. That's my personal choice. I just can't do it. So she was like, why don't you try ashwagandha? And I'm not saying this replaces behavioral meds. Please don't get me wrong. But for someone like me who's trying to use for different, find alternatives and try to be just show up in this space. This has been the truth. I tried the capsule form from Whole Foods and it was dope. And then I saw this in my friend's house in Brooklyn. I said, let me try the gummy form. Of course, it tastes like candy. So I'm like, yeah, ashwagandha for me is working wonders. And apparently for the fellas, it does some things. I'm out of focus. I also want to share, it's okay. So this is another tea. I think I talked about this before too. This is tea, Clarity and Calm tea, super adaptogenic herbs. I started trying this too. This is what I take this before bed. I drink it whenever I want, but it has ashwagandha in it as well. I put a lot of B-Man's honey in it. That's why the jar is empty over there, B-Man. And then my friend D who owns Zabao Biscuit. I went over her house a few weeks ago and I had a cup of this super adapt tea, rest and reset with is it reishi mushroom and cocoa. Y'all, when you put lemon juice in there, it tastes like a candy apple. That's me. Maybe my taste buds is weird, but this is why I'm bringing this up is because I have a ritual. Once I get off here, I engage in frivolity. I try to give me at least an hour or two of just whatever I want to do that's going to calm me down. Maybe it's a romance novel. Maybe it's sports. Maybe it's a cup of tea, talking to my mom. I don't know. Sometimes talking to my mom is not left chicks. I love her, but she ain't the commonest person. She's not the commonest person. I'm making up a word, right? Reishi. Thank you. That powder. You said the powder is bitter for like ashwagandha, but that's the thing. I put honey and lemon in the tea, and it tastes good to me. That's how. Yeah, but you're right, and you're right. But yeah, so for me, this is how I kind of unwind and kind of like decompress. It's like I love tea. I love tea, like a lot. My mom even got me like an OG teapot too. It's super dope and cute. So that's the one thing. And then, I read for pleasure. I did post that yesterday. I don't trust any left. Look at me being performative myself. I don't trust any leftists that don't read for pleasure. So I posted a picture of Joy for Militancy and another romance novel. But this is another book that it's edited by Adrienne Marie Brown, right? Octavia's Brood. I love this. It's just an amazing compilation of essays and stories. LeVar Burton wrote a piece in here. You got a bunch of people in here. Mahmoud Abdul-Jamal, who's incarcerated right now, he wrote this amazing piece. I did not know he was into like Star Wars or Star Trek rather. I think that's what he wrote. Yeah, I think that's what he wrote. Star Wars and the American imagination. Yeah, and so for someone whose body is incarcerated, he really, I didn't know he had a creative side like this. So Mahmoud Abdul-Jabbar wrote this. There's a bunch of stories in here. It's inspired by, of course, as the name suggests, it's inspired by Octavia Butler's work. And what I really like about this is that it talks about social justice. As Octavia Butler asserted, social justice is like science fiction, right? It's sci-fi. It's you're trying to construct a more just world. And to me, my activism is nothing without art, without inspiration, without thoughtful reflection. And this compilation is really good. You're literally drinking tea. Oh, for real. More mugs coming for the holidays. We've got mugs and hoodies coming, y'all. I'm working on you. You're going to be I can't wait till y'all see. There's a clue what the hoodies might look like. And the clue is the mural behind me. Shout out to Elliot and Mackenzie from Headspace. That's a clue what the hoodies might look like. Y'all don't understand. I'm working on everything. I'm trying. Shout out to Mackenzie and let me give him. I never give him a shout out. It's not on purpose, y'all. Let me switch up real quick before I dip. I'm a real black cliche. I always say I'm about to leave and stay like 20 more minutes. So this is these are the homies that did my mural on my wall back here behind me. All right, it's Elliot and Mackenzie. Please follow and support Headspace Murals. They got some good projects coming up in the Low Country. Some stuff I won't reveal anything, but this is some of their work they do in other states. This is in Tampa, right? So think about this when the hoodies come out. Think about the level of sophistication when the hoodies come out. Hey, yes. Hey, good morning, Evelyn. Yes. Oh, I didn't see Joni. Good morning. You said I wish my students would avoid social media. I'm telling you. Yep. Oh, enjoy you co-signed ashwagandha? Yes. Okay, good. Yeah. You've heard great things about ashwagandha. I'm good. I'm glad y'all co-signed. Yeah, so think about this as the hoodies are being cooked up right now. Yesterday we went back and forth extensively on what hoodie we should put it on. Oh, look, my wall is up here. They did good. I did do a time. Yeah, there it is. I did a time lapse. Yeah, when I first this was just so much fun to have. And like they made the mock-up. Elliot did the mock-up first on whatever on the computer, like my mom says, on the computer. he designed the pattern, and then they came, and in 2 days they put it together. It was so dope. So this is the creative genius team behind the hoodies coming out. I'm super excited. I'm like, how can we make the mural merch? So, but not just merch. Like I really wanted to build community too. I got some other things I want to do, especially as the new year comes in. So, shout out to the homies though. And they hooked me up. They do great work. They could do more, Charleston. All right, it ain't just what's his name? Shepard Fairey ain't the only muralist in the world, right? Oh, I like this one. They said this was a tribute to Beyonce. I think I can't remember. Is it like a bee or something like that? Yeah, storyteller in Houston, Texas, with a nod to Queen Bee. So I don't know if it's the lemonade. Oh, the bees right there. I see them, the bees. Okay, it's cute. It's cute. All right. So yeah, do something fun. Yup. God, you wish you had more public art. I'm telling you, Evelyn, we trying. I'm saying we like I'm an artist. I'm trying to push some of these artist friends of mine to do some guerrilla art. Even if it lasts 5 hours, do some guerrilla art. All we got is a folly boat. That's all they give us is the folly boat. That's all they will give us. They don't want to give us nothing else. But yeah, make sure you
there's an us before.
This is how I'm going to end it. We had Kanae do her amazing meditation. This is how I'm going to end it.
For the wound, there's an us before oppression. And to me, pleasure is a way that we tap down into that. I'm like, when I'm having an orgasm, I'm not like, slavery. You know, I'm like, you might be my slave, but, you know, like in a good way. It's really about like, oh, I feel very free. To me, the work was about like, how do we remind people that you were free to begin with? You were always free to begin with.
I gotta get this book.
For me, I was like, how can I bring like the best feeling when it's like the best high or the best mushroom or you know when you're on, have you maybe done mushrooms? All right, everybody else just get to it. All right, life is short. Life is short.
Get on them shrooms.
Natural, okay, it's great.
My name is Adrienne Marie Brown. I am the author of Pleasure Activism, The Politics of Feeling Good. Right now, we are sitting in Blue Stockings bookstore, which is forever. I used to live in New York. I lived here for like 10 years. Blue Stockings has always been a beloved bookstore for me. So I'm really excited to get to be here tonight. We're doing our New York premiere event for Pleasure Activism.
We have been raised to fear the yes within
Evelyn.
ourselves, our deepest cravings. But once recognized, those which do not enhance our future lose their power and can be altered. The fear of our desires keeps them suspect and indiscriminately powerful. For to suppress any truth is to give it strength beyond endurance.
And I'm gonna piss y'all off, but go ahead and watch this. This is from Laura Flanders, y'all. Y'all know I love Laura Flanders show. But I wanna just reiterate what she said in the beginning. Just do this. Yes, look at Justin. Yes to the fungus. Listen to the beginning, and I'm gonna sign off for real. Listen to the beginning, like where it begins. And Kanae said something similar to this as well during the guided meditation.
There's an us before the wound. There's an us before oppression. And to me, pleasure is a way that we tap down into that. I'm like,
we are not just these things that happen in the news cycle. There's an us before the harm, before the trauma. There's me before, I made contact with the white supremacist, patriarchal society, right? There's a me there. And I just want to push my leftists, my fellow comrades. I said all I said, but it really is out of love. It's a love of my community is unconditional. I really want them to remember there's a you before the performance. There's a you before all the vitriol and the performance. Don't get caught up in this cycle of producing or reproducing the harms that are visited upon us. We can't move through these spaces. We can't get to liberation policing each other's speech, policing each other's thoughts, and not being, not extending grace, not embracing someone else's or having regard for someone else's human frailty. We can't live in these rigid spaces. The more rigid we become, the more we're just going to be likely to shatter. Whether we shatter mentally, emotionally, as a community, we just got to be more collaborative, and we've got to find joy. And no, I'm not telling you to engage in toxic positivity. No, sometimes I just lay up on this bed with the weighted blanket and some edibles, and like I just sometimes that's all I got. And it's not about it's not about being positive, but just remember to try to cultivate spaces of joy. Don't give in to the despair. It's okay to acknowledge it and to deal with it and to manage it, but don't give into it, and really try to just focus on yourself. And I'll leave it there, but I'll see y'all tomorrow. Yeah, after 2 consecutive live streams talking about offensive and egregious wealth, and especially wealth built on debt collection yesterday, I really wanted to circle back and and just talk about how we can cultivate spaces of healing and joy and not be beholden to the news cycle as things are unfolding, right? Sometimes we don't even have to say shit. We don't. That's all. I appreciate all the commentary. I'm going to go back and read the chat tomorrow. I'll see y'all tomorrow. And no, I'm not a liberal, but if you want to call me one, that's okay. All right, sticks and stones. Bye.